obviously been disappointing, right? And we care about our shareholders. There's no doubt that some of the stuff that we've had a bunch of missteps on. I think that the biggest mistake that we made as a company is betting too much on HTML5 as opposed to native.
Does Mark Zuckerberg's code break?
Yes. Everything I do breaks, but we fix it quickly.
I goofed. I screwed up. Straight talk from the boy who ditched the hoodie for a T-shirt. That was Facebook chief Mark Zuckerberg yesterday. This is today. The stock popping nearly 8%. And it has a lot of folks just wondering if this guy can learn from that guy. A guy young enough actually to be his son. To Hadley Heath, who says it is time for the president to step up to the plate, admit his own mistakes, and maybe, like Zuckerberg, profit from them. I'm not holding my breath on that one. I was shocked to see it even out of Mark himself, but I think it was a great acknowledgement to say, look, a lot of this rests with me. We got ahead of ourselves. I'm paraphrasing here. But the president, the worst I've heard out of him, Hadley, is that it's the storyline that at worst I screwed up, and mostly the evil Republicans. What do you think of this?
Exactly. The president mentioned in his DNC speech that he had made some mistakes, but he's been very reticent to say exactly what those things are or what different approach he would take in the future. Mark Zuckerberg, 28 years old, I think it shows some humility and some flexibility on his part to say, listen, we tried certain things, those things haven't worked, we're going to try different things. And I'd like to hear the same thing from the president. You know, I think just acknowledging the mistake alone, shareholders rewarded him for that. Now, there were other factors here. The stock had been beaten down a lot. It's less than half what it was when it was offered. So there are a lot of technical reasons here. I won't bore anyone with that. But I do think people feel encouraged when a leader just admits a mistake. When John Kennedy took responsibility for the Bay of Pigs, even though it was, initially thought up under his predecessor's administration and his own Joint Chiefs of Staff had pushed it, ultimately he said, you know what, I'm the boss. I'm the guy. And I botched it. And I think we reward people who just admit a mistake. We don't want them to keep repeating the same mistake, but at least say, I screwed up. Exactly. And we see the bump in Facebook stocks. I think Americans would put more stock in this president if he could do the same thing. Look, Moody's has already said that they're going to downgrade the credit rating of the United States if Congress and the president fail to do anything about our $16 trillion in national debt. Under President Obama's watch, the debt has increased by more than 50%, and that's something that weighs in on the minds of millions of Americans who, not just Americans who are out of work, but who are putting away savings for retirement or trying to buy a home. The value of our money is very important to us, and with a looming national debt problem, we don't know if we can count on this administration to protect our money and protect our economy. Our economy is in dire straits. But you know what, Hadley, I think you mentioned a very wise point about Americans' temperament in general to accept leaders who acknowledge a mistake, because we all make mistakes. And I think when a leader says, this approach, how I did it was wrong, again, unless you keep repeating the same mistake, the multiple apology thing gets old. But I do think it would have people who are very forgiving in this country would just say, okay, we like that. Well, I think Americans want to see Congress and the president get something done. They would like to see the Senate pass a budget. They would like to see the president acknowledge that our labor force participation rate is as low as it's been in 30 years, that we are facing significant troubles as a country, and to go on saying that it's not so bad or it could have been worse or give me 4 more years, that's the wrong tack for this president. I think it's time for him to acknowledge that his policies simply aren't working, and he hasn't had the right priorities. Even in his first 2 years as president, he had control of Congress, his party had control of Congress, and they chose different priorities. They didn't choose to fix the economy or to address the lack of stimulation in terms of the private sector and job creation. Well put. Hadley, thank you very, very much. Good seeing you again. Thank you. Having said all of this, though, folks,